In the 600s AD, the most important task facing the Catholic Church was Christianizing the Anglo-saxon kingdoms of Britain. St. Augustine had got the ball rolling in Canterbury, and now it was time for St. Birinus to become the apostle to the West Saxons. This is the River Thames in Oxfordshire, where it meets the Thames at Dorchester. And it was on this spot, or nearby, that St. Birinus baptised the king of the West Saxons, Cynegils of Wessex. Cynegils was hoping to form an alliance with the king of Northumbria, Oswald, but Oswald was a Christian, and he could never form an alliance with a pagan. It was a sticking point in all of their negotiations, and eventually Cynegils bit the bullet and was baptised somewhere nearby here. The Thames is a bit flooded at the moment. You can see it's coming up pretty high on these reeds. This is probably due to the recent rainstorms we've had. St. Birinus was a Frank and came over from France, landing in what's now Southampton, before heading north into Wessex. His mission was to go everywhere that the word of Christ had not been brought. But he ended up staying almost entirely in Wessex, in the forests and hills bordering the River Thames, because this is where he found his patron Cynegils. And this was why he stayed. This is Dorchester Abbey. It may look from the outside like a church, but it is absolutely massive in scale. Now, St. Birinus's Abbey would have been a timber-framed structure, quite small, but having a permanent base of operations not far from the Thames or the Thames allowed him to train priests and found churches all over Wessex. And for a while, Dorchester was one of the biggest ecclesiastical centres in Britain, the equal of York or Canterbury. And for a very long time, it was Dorchester, not Canterbury, that was the primary diocese for the south of England. In the 870s, the timber frame construction was replaced with stone, and it wasn't too dissimilar from what we see here, although this is Norman, and it remained the primary seat of a bishop all the way through until the Norman conquests. In the 1070s, the ecclesiastical structure of Britain was shaken up by the Normans, and it was decided that Dorchester would no longer be the seat of one of the most powerful bishops in England. Instead, it would come under the control of Lincoln and later Canterbury. However, it remained a very large centre of ecclesiastical studies because it became an abbey full of monks who made it a vital religious centre. As an abbey, Dorchester flourished. Its position on the Thames meant it had easy access to many of the ecclesiastical centres in Britain. It had easy access to London and Oxford, and it grew into a large pilgrimage site, especially for people who wanted to venerate St. Birinus. However, like all tales of ecclesiastical history in Britain, we come to the Reformation and Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries. The monastery's church was saved by a local businessman deciding to buy it from the king for the use of the village, and many of the smaller abbey buildings were also saved. Some of it was torn down, but we have a huge, huge church for a village of this size, and it is in a wonderful condition. Between the 15th and 17th centuries, it did fall into disrepair because it is such a large church that a small village like Dorchester wasn't able to maintain it properly without the income that a monastery could expect. And then in the 1840s, a society of wealthy individuals came together with the sole purpose of restoring it to its full glory. Many of the stained glass was put back or replaced. Everything was repaired, and the abbey now flourishes as a church, an important focal site for festivals and events and big religious events in the area. It is beautifully maintained and absolutely staggering. You don't expect to see such a huge church in such a small country town. This is just an aside. The Thames here might be one of my favourite rivery locations that I've seen in England so far. With the weeping willows and the reeds, it's just beautiful.